Hey everybody, I'm Todd Banner. Welcome to my channel. Well, as you can see, I've got the studio set up again. Our moving plans have kind of been delayed. We're probably going to be looking at the spring of next year. But I got to tell you something. For those of you who maybe been in a house for a long time and you're thinking about, moving, downsizing, getting into something a little bit more manageable, condo, townhouse, you don't have to take care of stuff. If you think that's going to happen in the next 5 years, start getting rid of stuff now. You would not believe how long it takes to get everything together and get rid of it. Either take it to charities or, if you have alleys like we do here, if you put metal stuff in our alleys, it's gone in a few hours. So just a little word of advice. Recently, a commenter asked me if I ever miss APS-C or full frame since moving to Micro Four Thirds. And, not really. I'll tell you, whenever I start thinking maybe, maybe an S5 would be nice to have. I just look at how much an S5 weighs. It weighs more than a G9 Micro Four Thirds camera. And then if you add the weight of, say, the 20 to 60 millimeter kit zoom that you can get with that, and say the 70 to 300 millimeter telephoto zoom, and these all look like quite nice lenses. But if you add up that weight and then put together something comparable with a G9, you're going to find that if you got a G9 with just the Lumix 12 to 60 and the Lumix 45 to 150, which are kit lenses, but they're decent lenses, you got enough weight left over, wiggle room to throw in a couple of other lenses. So I don't really miss full frame mainly because of the weight. I don't miss APS-C mainly because I shot Canon APS-C, and both Canon and Nikon, it's almost like APS-C, and it looks to be the same with the mirrorless cameras. APS-C is an afterthought. You generally, to make use of the lens catalog that the manufacturer of those two manufacturers have, you end up putting full frame lenses on an APS-C camera. And the alternative is to use third-party manufacturer lenses, which I did. When I had Canon APS-C, I had a Sigma 17 to 50 millimeter f2.8. Gotta tell you, that was one of the sharpest zoom lenses I ever owned. The one issue with it was it had a fair amount of chromatic aberration in some situations you really had to watch out for. And I also had the Sigma 17 to 70 f2.8 to 4. And that was a pretty decent lens as well. Not as sharp as the 17 to 50, but still sharp enough. But really, I don't really miss those cameras. And I'll tell you what, as I mentioned, the 45 to 150, which is talk a little bit about today. This was the second lens that I bought. I actually ended up selling that lens when I had a 14 to 140, and have since purchased another copy. And both of these copies are just very sharp, very little chromatic aberration, sharp edge to edge, sharp wide open. Even at the telephoto distance, they're quite sharp, and really a versatile little zoom lens. And if you think about a full frame lens that covers the same range, you're talking about a pretty hefty lens. You do give up, compared to a 70 to 300 on full frame. You're giving up 20 millimeters on the wide end. That's not that important. And to be honest with you, at 45 millimeters or full frame equivalent field of view, 90 millimeters, that's a great portrait length. And people might say, well, it's f4, so you're not going to be able to blur the background that well. That's true, but if you actually know what you're doing and are careful and you have the background far enough away, you can. And really consider this. If you watch some of the tutorials by portrait shooters who use full frame cameras, and they'll use like an 85 or 100 millimeter lens, they're frequently stopping down to f8 and f11 to get the whole head in focus. Well, you're going to get that without stopping down much at all on this lens. So the amount of light that you need, because f-stops are f-stops unless you're getting into the whole equivalence thing, and I don't. I mean, you can shoot with less light coming out of your lights than you need to if you're stopping down to f11 on a full-frame lens. So, yeah, I don't miss it. I have used this lens a lot, and we're planning our trip to Olympic National Park, and this I'm not taking my 100 to 300. We're going to be hiking quite a bit, and I've just decided I don't want to carry the weight of that lens, so I'm going to take this lens. Now, a couple of niggling things. One, no weather sealing, but this was an early Micro Four Thirds lens. It's only, I mean, if you buy it as not part of a kit, it's about $150 online. So it's really not an expensive lens. It would be nice to have weather sealing. It would be nice if Panasonic would upgrade it and come out with a Mark II that has weather sealing. But given what they get for one of these lenses, I'm not sure they're going to think it makes economic sense to upgrade this lens. And having said that, I've shot with equipment since before there was such a thing as weather sealing, and I really have never had a camera stop working in moderate rain. Even going back to film EOS cameras that were not weather sealed, it's really never been a huge issue. Yeah, if it's a downpour, I would not use this, but a little light rain is probably not going to affect this. Anyway, other niggling thing about this is a 52 millimeter filter thread. And if you think about it, a lot of the other commonly used Lumix lenses have a 58 millimeter thread. Again, if they were to upgrade it, of course, then they'd have to make the barrel bigger, and it would take some of the compactness away from it. So, you know, if you're getting into Micro Four Thirds and getting into the Lumix system, this is a great lens. And you still get the deal. I mean, it's not as good as it used to be. The deal on the GX85, they still, I don't know if they're still making it or they're selling stock that they have, but you can still get the GX85 with that really nice little 12 to 32 pancake zoom and the 45 to 150. And right now, I think the deal is $599. You might be able to do better if you look around. And really, there is really nothing wrong with the GX85. I should say terribly wrong. Some people don't like the viewfinder. I never had a problem with it. 16 megapixels is more than enough to print even up to 16 by 20 inch prints and beyond. Oh, I almost forgot. When you look at the slideshow, some of the more close-up kind of macro-looking shots, I used an accessory close-up lens, a Canon 500D close-up lens. You can find these online used. I'm not sure Canon, I've said before, not sure Canon makes them anymore. Maybe if they sell out, they do a production run. But these are high quality. I think this one cost me under $100 used, and it's pristine. It's not to be confused with the Rebel model, the 500D, which I forget which Rebel that was. It is a +2 diopter lens, so if you're looking at lenses that don't use Canon's naming, just look for a +2 diopter lens, and it screws on the front of your camera lens, and lets you focus pretty close, but still keeps the working distance fairly large, so you're not going to scare any small critters. And I find it works really well on the 45 to 150. Thank you very much for watching. If this was helpful to you, please hit that like button. If you have any comments or questions, insights, things that I forgot to mention, pop them down into the comments below. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing. It's a big help to me. And popping that like button's a big help as well. I'm Todd Banner, and I will see you next time.